Well, hello, and welcome to Stop Let's Team Up, and it's time to talk Suicide Squad. And I'm joined by Kirby again, and we're going to follow up our chat of Legends with Volume 1, Trial by Fire by John Ostrander, Luke McDonnell, Bob Lewis, Carl Kessel. And when I saw David Hunt on the cover, I went, when they had Dave Hunt do anything? And then I went, oh, The Secret Origin. So, but this is a great book. Let me say hi, Kirby, and then I'll give the basics, and then we'll start chatting.
Hey, Russ. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm excited. This was a good subject I needed to jump off to read something else, and I read this over the last couple of nights, and not pleasantly surprised, but it's been a long time since I've read this, and just reading this volume went, oh, yeah, that's why I have every volume of this. This is one of the best comics series that I've ever read, and it's just so well executed. And, we're only in the first, 14 issues and a Secret Origin?
8 issues, maybe? The first 8, and then the Secret Origins, yeah.
Yeah, I almost went and read the 2 DC Comics Presents, which I've kept in floppy all these years because they've never been reprinted. And they should be in this volume, really.
Yeah, I've got those, too. I didn't read them for this, but I should have.
I know. They're a great they're great, which is the Forgotten Heroes, Forgotten Villains two-parter, where DC knew that these characters were coming back, so they wanted to kind of reintroduce them. And in a great book, any team-up book is worth reading. I'm a fan of all the 4 major ones, Brave and the Bold, DC Comics Presents, Marvel Team-Up, and Marvel 2-in-1. And I think they should all come back. I think that if you haven't gotten it, folks, there is Marvel has a new team-up book called Clobberin' Time by Steve Skroce. He writing and drawing it. And the first issue was Hulk, second issue is Duck Fate. It is wonderful and silly, and Steve, I think I pronounced it Skroce, does a great job writing a fun comic book that looks gorgeous.
Oh, okay. That's with the thing then. So yeah. I'm definitely gonna have to pick that up.
Oh yeah, it's great. So they put it. I went into my local comic shop, Velocity Comics, and Ron was there, and he goes, "Oh, hey, wait a minute!" As he gave me the stuff out of my box, he went to the rack, pulled it off, and put it on top of my thing, and I thumbed through it and went, "Yeah, I want that." Yeah. So, but it's great. But I don't know if a lot of my listeners, I assume, are my age, so this is their Suicide Squad, unlike the modern Suicide Squad, which I've jumped in and out of. I have to say I did like the DC Justice League versus Suicide Squad story. That's the only one I've collected, and that was about one of the only chunks of Justice League in the last. How long ago was Rebirth?
Like 5-6 years at this point.
I have not been able to. I bought a bunch of library editions that someone sold online. This library out in Iowa was getting rid of stuff, and I got all the Jeff Johns stuff in hardcover.
Okay.
And I like Jeff Johns. I read the Jim Lee stuff, but I'm not a fan of Jim Lee storytelling. I like his art. I don't like his storytelling. I think it's too many big single-page battle sequences, and there's zero room for the writer to put any plot into it. It looks gorgeous, but a comic should take more than 5 minutes to read.
Yeah, the splash page should be the exception and not the rule.
And maybe a double-page spread when you need it for something. If you all want to learn how to do that, I would recommend you look at Stargirl: The Lost Children. Because he used a double-page spread. George Perez was looking down from heaven at Todd Nook and went, "You learned something." Well, I think Todd Nook always could do it, but it was that is some of the best of his work, and it's one of my favorite comics of the last 5 or 6 years.
It's gorgeous, top to bottom.
I know, and he should draw more. Let them do a Young Justice Society book with them, and I'll be happy. So, but let's get to Suicide Squad. So, folks, this starts with Secret Origin, Volume 2, number 14. It is Legends Chapter 22. If they do a Legends Omni with everything in order, I will buy it. But you don't need it. All you have to do for Legends is actually to read Legends, because most of it, the Cosmic Boy's good. There's some of the stuff is good, but most of it is kind of pointless. This one makes sense, though, because they're introducing the Suicide Squad to a whole new group of readers. So, what was your first... Is this book your first Suicide Squad, this series?
Yes, because in college I was on I was a big fan of Secret Six, and then Gary, the owner, is like, okay, hey, this Suicide Squad's coming out. You're a big fan of Secret Six. You're gonna want to read this because a lot of what you love in Secret Six starts here.
And that is so true. Because I wish I went looking for the Secret Six trades a while back. They're insanely expensive.
I'm not getting rid of mine.
Yeah,
Never getting rid of my
wish I
singles.
had them. I wish I had them. They're on the app. They're on the app, so I can read them.
Yep.
So, but that is another series, and that's Gail Simone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Gail
Gail
Simone. And Ostrander does come back to write a couple of issues in some tie-ins with Gail later on in Secret Six.
Yeah, because that is a love letter to it. And I need to read more. I mean, I love that a lot. I need to reread it. I also want to read her Birds of Prey.
Well worth it, too.
Yeah. So I think those are the kind of teams I like. But I love this one. I had maybe had original Silver Age Secret Six title. There had to have been one reprinted in some 100-page giant when I was a kid or somewhere. I have the Silver Age trade that has all of it in one volume. It's some weird, trippy-dippy stuff. It's actually kind of fun. They're dinosaurs and monsters and some craziness.
I was going to ask you about that because I'm like, it's not going to be the Dirty Dozen. I know it's not going to be the Dirty Dozen in comic form. What is it?
It is really, it's just weird West. It's like weird war tales. They end up on the island that time forgot kind of thing. It is. We see. You're getting. This Secret Origin really tells their origin well. Up to, that's all you really need to know. But if you read them, they are very Silver Age 60s comics. They fight dinosaurs, alien, weird stuff. And then the later issues are just different soldiers on that island. So, but it's really nice DC Silver Age. It's nothing problematic. There's nothing really off about it. It doesn't have those laps into kiddiness that other comics, like I've been doing Legion, and Legion will go. I'm in that era where they're these great two-parters by Jim Shooter, and then after a couple of those, they always do the one and done, which is really for a little kid.
Oh, the Super Pets.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And I don't mind it, but I'm kind of going, okay, it's the same creative team, but a different artist. This has got to be Weisinger going, okay, that one was heavy. Do something light. And that's just got to be an editorial thing. But the 60s Secret Six was going to teenage boys, and I think the market was probably a wider market for back then. Maybe instead of 6 to 12, maybe I think they're at the point where some of the readers are getting older. So for 50s, kids who were introduced to comics in the 50s and now it's the 60s, I think that's when we'd start seeing readership. Once you're hooked, you keep buying comics into adulthood, the drop off. So I think they were kind of marketed it to a different audience. And this stuff came out in 87. Is this? Yeah, 87, post-crisis. And I don't know the history why they brought them back other than editorial wanted something different.
Maybe keeping up the trademark or copyright, however that goes.
Yeah, and maybe Ostrander, when he was selling, he convinced them, let's give this book a try. I mean, this is the kind of book where I could see with a lesser creative team.
It would have fallen off the pier.
Yeah, it would have. It wouldn't have worked. I mean, it's like, okay, I've just covered Freedom Fighters on World on Fire. And I liked it. But there's some rough ones and good ones. I read The Champions as a kid in the 70s. And you could see where, all right, this isn't going to work. And I think, sometimes they try something. And I think they wanted to keep up the trademark. Like you said, I think they wanted to try to use some of these characters. But I think he pitched this, and it's such a good idea. I mean, and DC was trying to reinvent itself.
Yep, and there's also part of me going like, if I'm Ostrander, okay, I can either take characters no one cares about and, just kind of wipe the deck with them. Like, okay, if we're really embarrassed by XYZ, we can get rid of them in a panel, or we're gonna take like Deadshot, who had maybe 8 appearances.
And I know him from, showing my age, when he appeared in, I guess it was Detective, when Englehart and Rogers were doing it.
Yeah, I think I've read that like one issue from that, and that's good. But
It's
like
amazing shit. So that's my favorite Batman run of all time.
that's the best Batman.
Yeah, and a lot. I mean, I just love Marshall Rogers and Steve Englehart. Yeah, I'm looking at Wiki right here for notes and see. They don't have any list why they bring it back, other than, so this is. Hold on a second. Yeah, I don't see the notes. I think they're just trying new things, and they hit. This thing was a huge hit. So kind of let's just. Whoop. Oh, that's my bad. I thought that was my computer going bad. All right. So when you first started reading this, your local comic shop guy got you to turn on. What did you think when you read this the first time?
I'm like, this. Again, it's okay. If I had to pitch it to someone, like, and this was it's the Dirty Dozen, but everyone's either Telly Savalas or John Cassavetes, and they're in costumes. And it's a lot of the great 80s action movies. Just put all of those into one big blender and you're in.
Oh yeah. And it's, what it was too, what I think drew me to it is I knew Deadshot was. I knew Captain Boomerang was. I knew who Mindboggler, because she was a newer character. And I knew Bronze Tiger, and I knew all of who they were, even Rick Flag. I knew the names, but I never followed them in anything. And it's such a good group that Ostrander and McDonnell, I gotta say, I love Luke McDonnell. And I think my love of him comes from this, is because a lot of people were like, what's this? Oh, this art's weird or whatever. This isn't like anybody else. But it's just so perfect for this. And when he went and did Iron Man, when Rhodey was Iron Man, I went, oh, that's perfect for that. Mm-hmm. But, I had never read The Secret Origin of the Suicide Squad. I think I knew it, but I don't remember where I knew it from. Maybe reading one of those in a 100-page giant. But it was tying all of that into the superhero world, and like adding Amanda Waller and the post-Crisis Universe build. It was just one. I think I really do love the Secret Origin issue. Some of the Secret Origins didn't have great art, and I find Luke McDonnell with Dave Hunt art very different. I prefer him with a more like Bob Lewis's inks, or Carl Kiesel. This is Carl Kiesel. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
But it intrigued me. And then when I started reading these as single issues, because I was working at a comic shop when this was coming out, and it immediately went to the top of my read pile, because I'd never read anything really like it. And it just blew me away. So let's start with so when you read this the first time, what did you think of this origin? Was it a little too Silver Agey for you, or were you since you had no previous conception of this stuff?
So let's see. I'm trying to think, because by the time I read this, I saw the JLU episode that's basically an homage to Suicide Squad. Task Force X, I think, is the episode.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is just kind of them just name-checking a bunch of stuff. And reading it this time, I'm like, oh, that's Ace Morgan. I know he's Challengers of the Unknown. There's Jeb Stewart. There's Howlin' Tank. But yeah, no, this first time, it's a lot of just kind of setting things up so we can kickstart the series with the first issue, and we don't have to waste a lot of time name-checking in the series proper.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, because I always liked the Secret Origin comics, so there have been several. But sometimes, especially toward the end, it was just kind of like really short, quickie rehashes. Like the Legion one, I like it. But it's just a rehash of what Superboy 129 or whatever it is. I'm about to skip that issue in my reread because I already covered it with Jimbo, and it's in the way of me reading the Force Mordru. So
that'll be good. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to that story.
Oh, I know, and I have that in the Treasury, so I got to read it in the big format and set it on my phone or in the book. But yeah, I think it's a good setup, and I think I'm glad they put it in the trade. Because this trade came out in 2015. This is the first time that this was collected. Let me make sure I've got that right. I looked it up.
I've got mine as 2011.
Well, maybe that's the second printing. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah, that would make sense because like 2011, I'm still in college, and that first movie wasn't until 2016. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess mine is a later print because I saw these by the time I didn't see this in the comic shop because I wasn't buying trades, and I was being really kind of picky with what I bought because of money. And then I saw 3 of these lined up on the shelf and went, I bought one, and then the next payday came. I bought the next 2, and then I bought them every time they came out. But I haven't read them. I mean, I bought them just because it was like I'd sold my copies, and I have to have this. This is a Touchstone comic. This one day I'm going to sit down and read it again.
Which is what I'm going to do basically as soon as this call is over, is start my huge reread.
Yeah, I may have to read some more. I've got a lot to read. I just started Thunderbolts Omnibus Volume 1.
Okay, which also owes to this.
Yes, it does. And I wish I had read it. I didn't get into that until at the end of the Busick run. So some of it I don't think I've read. I'm reading through it. I don't remember this. But this one was great. I like the origin. But let's talk the first story, which is a lot of the elements of this first story are used in Suicide Squad, the second feature, because they go to Yundheim. Except it's in South America.
Instead of like Russia in that. Which...
Well, no. This one is This is in Karak. They didn't want to use a fake.
Oh, right.
Right. I do like the Russian story when we get to it because it's probably it's one thing I tell people. If you want to read, go read that because that'll get you to read the whole book. But, it's set up, where this is 87. We've had, the Middle East is, Middle Eastern terrorists are the boogeyman of the day. Yep. And I like how the whole setup in the story is you see the terrorists destroying an airport, and then you find out it was all staged. And it's like, well, that's fucked up.
Because, like they mentioned, like we hired like actors from around the world, dissidents within our own country, and yeah, we just killed them off basically just as a training exercise.
Yeah, and that's the first, how many pages? That's first 9 pages, and then we get to 10. We still haven't seen a main character. We see them on 13. It's all set up. You got to see Economos, who is not the same as you will find in the Peacemaker movie, but I vibe with both versions. I want them to do a parallel universe story where the 2 different ones meet, and this guy can go, "You're fucking kidding me." But I like because it also Ostrander knows what he's doing, and he creates not only the core team, but he creates a support staff in the prison, and you're like, is this guy going to be a regular? And all these characters have a time to shine at different times during the run. Economos, you know about him. You know about, like, they're talking about stuff like the Keene Act and the Ingersoll Amendment and how they can use, we're going to give you specific reasons why they can use villains. And that there are a lot of these people who are around, we're going to find some that, are tied to the old Suicide Squad. We're going to find Rick's ex-girlfriend is working there. But it's just, this is a great lineup. What do you think of this lineup? Well, first, let's go. It's Amanda Waller. This is the first book that made her famous after Legend. And I did have a problem when they changed her and made her young and pretty at the beginning of Rebirth. I was like, why? This is a middle-aged woman who scares the shit. Isn't afraid of Batman. Why are you changing it? Yes. What is that, 8?
Yeah, this is the cover to issue 10. It's Batman. He's pressed up against the wall. Amanda Waller, who's 5 foot, middle, clearly middle aged, and she is scaring the shit out of him.
Yeah, she's like, I know. When she lets drop in that issue that she knows who he is. She doesn't say his name, but she's like, I know who you are. So just go away. But it's just watching her machinations, and then this group of heroes. Like, I knew who Rick Flag was, I knew Deadshot, I knew Bron Tiger, I knew Plastique, because, I did read a lot of Firestorm. Mindboggler, I was like, okay, it's an 80s. It took me a minute to figure out who June was, and Captain Boomerang. And what did you think of this lineup? Did you know these characters when you read this? Had you read Legends before this?
No, I hadn't read Legends. I read Legends when we talked about it.
Was that the first time you had read it?
That was the first time I had read it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But let's see. Captain Boomerang, I knew again from Justice League Unlimited. Same with Deadshot. And I knew Enchantress, and I don't think she showed up in the first issue. Nightshade. I knew them from the Shadow Pack series by William Gibson Sturgis.
I love that book. I wish I still. That's something I wish they would collect.
Yeah, I got all the issues. I got it for a steal.
It's another one that I like for the same reasons I like this, and I like other books like this, like Secret Six. It's that group of plucky heroes that really shouldn't work as a team, and they do. Yep.
But Bronze Tiger, Plastique, I had no idea who these were, but I'm like, okay, you know what? They do a good job of setting up like what their deal is and what they do for the mission. Like, again, looking at it now, it's like, okay, this is the old Mission Impossible kind of. Here's how they're going to help the plan. Yeah,
it's very much Mission Impossible with the way they pick people, and I like it that it's a page story. It is a 22-page story, and the team. There's no action involving the team yet.
It is almost all exposition, but it flows beautifully. You get the characters, just kind of from this first issue, like, okay, Captain Boomerang is a complete ass, and he's gonna get comeuppance for it immediately. And they just kick off right into issue 2.
Oh, I know. I love that splash page on issue 2 where it really struck me as like a John Byrne, Terry Austin kind of splash page. It really felt like that. Where they've landed on the ground outside the thing, and then we find out that they have a plant in the stronghold, and it's a member of the terrorist group, the Jihad, and we find out that it's Nightshade, and she is pissed at Flag because she says this, and when she just walks up and slaps him. And, she goes to Latin when she just accuses him. The Jihad's last demonstration used real ammo and real people. Why wasn't I warned? Why didn't you get here sooner? You've made me an accessory to a massacre. And he goes, we were tied up elsewhere. And now's not the time to go into where and why. The success of the mission right now hinges on you. And it's just like, damn. They were battling Brimstone and good... the dark side's machinations, but yeah, I understand why she is, and they're not hiding away from that. Superheroes still have the superhero myth ethics.
Yep.
It's not just we're killing for killing's sakes, and Flag's not for killing's sake. But he is surrounded by at times homicidal maniacs.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, there are times where Boomerang, Deadshot, they're all just kind of casually murdering. And I just gotta say, as younger, I just kind of love seeing the casual smoking throughout. It just really rings of like, oh, right, this is definitely the late 80s.
Oh, God, yes. It's. I was talking to a theater buddy, at brunch yesterday. We went and had breakfast. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And I went and saw Rent at Virginia Commonwealth University. It was a very nice production. I enjoyed it a great deal. But a kid, and I want to say kid because he's probably 19 in the cast, is playing a businessman, so he decides to smoke, but you can't smoke real cigarettes on stage anymore. So he has one of those electric ones. And I said, it looks stupid. One, he's never smoked a cigarette in his life. And it's, if you're not going to smoke, don't smoke. And I kind of like when I see it is when they do period movie. I joked about watching a period piece, and you're watching a period movie sometimes nowadays, and no one is smoking. No one. I'm like, you need to put some smokers in the fucking background because that looks. People go, but it's so bad. It's not going to make anybody start smoking.
Nope.
Okay.
Like
it's not.
My grandfather, he died of smoke. I watched a ton of movies growing up with people puffing, like Ghostbusters. Like everyone's lining up in Ghostbusters. It doesn't make me want to start smoking or anything like that, and that's a stupid myth.
Oh, it is a myth. And I mean, I was a smoker for 30 some years. I mean, I haven't smoked in 15, but I look at this. It's like, yeah, okay, I remember that. I used to work in a Rite Aid, and I could smoke while I was working. So it was that was about 4 years before this. But yeah, it's just these characters. What I like about it is they've taken like Captain Boomerang is a gimmick villain, and I think he works very well in Flash. He's a good villain. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're not changing him at all.
No.
But they're just showing you he's a little more cutthroat. And all of the villains, because I was like, is Bron Tiger a villain? And he's not. He's done some bad things, but he's not a villain. But Mindboggler's a villain. June, who's the passive identity of the Enchantress, she's just some poor suburban woman who, who's bonded to this evil sorceress. But this is great, man, because you get it. It's like you said, the Dirty Dozen. They've got their plan, and they're talking about it. Okay, here's our way in. She's going to teleport us through this dark dimension in, and then, folks, people complain about exposition older comics, but it's necessary. You see him go, okay, Deadshot, you're going to go to this villain. So you see Deadshot and then that villain, June and her opponent, Boomerang and his. So you're getting to know the villains a little bit more before they fight without having to have a conversation of them talking. And I like how they all go in there and Plastique Nightshade tells Plastique to wait here, don't do anything, and the minute Nightshade's gone, peace out, I'm going to sell these fuckers out.
Yep.
But then you find out that one of them is, we had another ringer, we had Nemesis, who I may have read one Nemesis comic.
This was my first encounter with Nemesis.
He is a Mark Evinger, Dan Spiegel character.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's a late 60s, 70s kind of thing.
Yep, that makes sense.
So I'm going to because we got a lot of issues to cover. It's like, what did you think of this next issue when they're on the mission?
I really like it where Luke McDonnell shines. It's just in a lot of these fights. Like, the Deadshot versus Manticore is like, okay, fine. I'm just going to shoot the cable to the elevator and crush him, or try to crush him. Boomerang, I just want to get to the Boomerang fight, because Boomerang is charged with fighting a guy who can do, like, super speed for 3 seconds. He hits him with a boomerang, then kicks him off, and he's like, and again, to my two friends from Australia, I'm very sorry for what I'm about to do. Listen, maybe you can save yourself like Flash used to do. Use your super speed, form spiral up drafts, spin and form whirlwinds, things like that. Guess you want an old Flash's classmate, and it's just like, God, it's that sort of level of dark humor that just sells it. Where,
oh yeah, I think you're right, and it's like because in the comics, like the Rogues Gallery, they don't kill.
No.
We rob and we steal, but you're not messing with our city and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I do agree that he just is so callous. I really like Brian's Tiger. He cripples his counterpart.
I think that guy comes back.
Yeah,
That's part of the squad.
Yeah, he does. And the Lion guy I don't think he's dead. I just think the bullets knocked him out finally.
Oh, wait. I wonder if the face. The body's armored. I wonder if the face is.
Yeah.
Guess not. Sloppy.
And I like Enchantress. And that's kind of one thing I do like both of the Suicide Squad movies to a point to where I'm entertained by them. Are they good adaptations? Not really. I think the first one is as close to they were going for Ostrander. I don't think they succeed 100%. But
No, but that's one where I'm like, you can kind of tell there's some higher up interference on that one.
yeah, there's some fiddling. And I found the second one incredibly funny, and it was, it was entertaining. It's but what it's supposed to be. But I liked it, and they all get out. They lose Mind Boggler. She gets killed.
Because Boomerang could have saved her, but he's like, nope. She made fun of me. I'm not gonna save her.
Mm-hmm. But he's like, what a senseless waste of human life. So he's not completely immoral.
No.
So that's what I like is we have a great action story told in 2 issues. There's a lot of exposition. There's a lot of setup. There's a lot of character development. But I remembered that, this is a 4-part story. So much stuff happens in it. And I read it and went, oh, no.
It's 2 and done.
2 and done. And then we hop into the next story, which is a single issue, and it's about the team. It's about the prison, Belle Revere, being attacked by the Furies from Apocalypse, and it's going to introduce us to Lashina. I think is this Lashina. I don't know if she is new.
I think she actually.
I think she's
was
created
in the
for
Kirby.
I think
she was in the Kirby. She was a background of a background, but she was there.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. Sense.
So
okay.
It's like Ostrander, again, you're free to do whatever you want, and this issue sets up a lot of what will come in the couple years down the line as I was flipping through the covers last night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't really looked at the later ones in years. I mean, I reread this like at least once a year for a few years, the first 4 or 5 years this was coming out. I mean, it didn't run that long.
Let's see, 66 issues, and yeah.
That's
it.
That's it. 5
years.
Yeah,
just like 5.5. 5 years.
Oh, wow. That's insane. So let me see something. I'm looking at Lashina while we're getting ready to move on. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't go far enough. But yeah, I liked how they brought, because, the dark side was a big part of Legends, that they brought the New Gods in early on. And just for an issue. I mean, it's just like, I don't think this happens in comics a lot nowadays where you have one and done stories.
No.
But I think you have to do it.
You need to do it. And that we could have a whole other podcast discussing about the need of one and done stories.
Yeah. I mean, it's because sometimes they just don't. So let's see. Lashina's first appearance, Mr. Miracle number 6, 1972. Okay. Well, that's cool. I didn't realize that. See, so I've read some of the New Gods, and I read the Marshall Rogers Mr. Miracle pretty religiously. I got that I got that in the Jerry Conway New Gods hardcover for $25 for the pair about a month ago.
Nice.
Yeah, they're good.
I was able to get the Fourth World Omni like a couple years ago for like for a steal. So
yeah, I need to next time if they ever re-release it, get that, because I've got to take a break on Omni buying for a couple weeks. Yeah. I've still got one more of the Avenger ones. They're reissuing the Avengers 1 through 4, and then doing Volume 5, which will be most of the Englehart. It'll be all but the first 5 Engleharts.
Oh, okay.
Because they were in 4, so I bought 2 and 3 used. I pre-ordered 1 and 5 from cheap graphic novels, because they have they have them for $59.99 if you pre-order them. So next payday, I'm going to order 4, and then I'll have those. Because I will do a Avengers rerun from the beginning. Use that as an excuse. But I liked how, let's get back to this, is that the book can be many things. Okay, we just went and fought supervillain terrorists. Now we're going to have a team of New God villains come and try to rescue Glorious Godfrey from Belle Revere. And, we see that Flag is not in on all of, as I'm flipping pages, they're brainwashing Plastique, and he's like, no, and his ex-girlfriend is doing it.
It is like just. I can't remember if this is a recurring thing throughout the book. Again, that's something I'll have to pay attention to. But it is just dark, dark, dark.
I think it is. If I remember correctly, it is. And because Waller is any means necessary, and Flagg is a military man, and there are rules. My pops was a soldier, was a Marine, and people go, well, you want really kind of crazy people. No, you don't.
No.
He said, no, I want someone who wants to survive. I want someone who's going to obey lawful orders and not obey illegal orders. I got into a heated debate, not a heated debate, but a friend of mine's a Republican, and every time he mentions his DeSantis, I go, you mean the war criminal? They go, what do you mean? He witnessed torture? I don't care if he was given an order to do it. You can't give that order. Never have, never can. So I hope he doesn't want to go out of the country often. But that's my politics today. But that he is, he understands, and then he's got Nightshade, and we get to see how Nemesis became a hero, member, which is, he was on one of his basic kind of Nemesis missions, and then he gets shot. He jumps off a falling helicopter, and he falls in the water, and he just happens to be picked up by 2 federal agents. Really?
Comics.
Yeah, it is. Comic soap opera. They all have the same messed up rules. But you get more of the setup, like even though this is an action piece, almost the whole thing, there's still a lot of stuff going on. I think the action, again, is Luke McDonnell's, the way he lays out his panels for a fight are second to none. Bronze Tiger against, what is this one's name? Stampa?
Yeah, I was just about to bring that one up. Like, this is beautiful. Like, you can see he's just trying every, technique he knows, and she's just not having any of it.
Yeah. Oh, and I like, because Lashina is gonna, at this point Lashina is going to show back up later already, because Ostrander is giving her things to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's very Claremontian in setup. This will pay off later. And that she's like, she's the one that ends up rescuing Godfrey, and she has this great thing. I remember Awful, how at Granny's used your voice to try and seduce me. Now Darkseid's going to have to put your mind back together if he wants you to appreciate whatever torment he has planned for you. But then she uses him she throws him at the good guys and then grabs him and then escapes. This is okay. This is I forgot this. Now, I read it this morning and I just realized it. The boom tube. That's where they hint that she lands in the swamp.
Yep.
Oh.
Swoop.
Wow.
And then the last page basically ends with a sitcom beat going like, Captain Boomer's like, I got lost. Oh, shut up. We don't need you.
Yeah. It's a one and done issue, and it's great. And then we get a back-to-back one and dones, and I really like this one. This reminded me of the Secret Serpent stories that would happen like every 5 or 10 years in Marvel.
Yeah.
But the white guy who the superhero who's going to use his actions to recruit white supremacists, and it really can to kind of I saw the clips of the what are they called, the little boys in the khaki pants who think they're
I prefer to know as little as possible.
They marched on DC last
night. They did. Oh, Jesus.
That's my hometown. I was like, oh, man, I hope people knew in advance and threw shit at you. Because people in Washington, the city of Washington, D.C., don't like a cracker.
Nope.
But it really rings true that, this is, the racial tensions. And, that imagine some rich white guy. They have to give him a reason for being a racist other than being rich and white.
Right.
I think Ostrander is probably a little more politically right than you or me.
Right.
I don't think he maybe is right. There are some other comic writers whose work I like, but who I don't follow on social media because I don't like their politics, but I did like their comics. John Ostrander is probably a little more right than me, but I don't think he's, uber crazy right. But you had to give a reason. You couldn't just say that he's some rich white dude who just hated everybody other than white folk because that would have been fair. Oh, and I like Kronos is in this one.
Oh, and again, that's kind of where in reading it like this time I was going like, okay, they could have killed Kronos off if they wanted to, because I'm gonna guess in '87 we're gonna try and take things a little more seriously. So, like one of the weirdest dressed villains we can get rid of.
I like that costume. I do. I think it's okay. I don't mind the white striped pants. But then again, I'm a fan of both the first and second Red Tornado costumes.
There you go.
Yeah, they're good. I do like when he had his own book.
Oh, I think I have read like the DC 1 million of that, and that's it.
I got the DC 1 million Omni 2 weeks ago. I found it for $40.
Oh my god, that's a good time.
Oh yeah, it's perfect because it's Starman, and when I get to that in Starman, I'm just gonna do maybe 2-3 long episodes about that because the Starman's the bad guy.
Yep.
Spoilers. But I forgot how good it is. I don't have a lot of the Morrison stuff. I have like one Morrison trade.
Oh, you don't even have like his JLA run or anything?
No, I sold some of those trades when I was making room. So they're all on the app. So stuff like that I'm less worried about.
Oh, yeah. The more popular bits.
I've looked at you can get the first volume of the JLA Omnibus relatively cheap. Because I think it went in clearance at some point in Ollie's.
Oh, yeah.
I may get that. Just because it's classic stuff. But I mean, again, they set up a team. It's basic. It's very, as in Mission Impossible, like on the TV show, it would be all the regulars and maybe Wally Cox. Wally Cox, folks, he's an old comedian, but he was in a couple Mission Impossibles as a safecracker. But you would have a different guest star, and this one is but they don't kill anybody in this one.
No, which was again surprising. Like there's a much lower body count in this first trade than I remember.
I think there's less body going to be as I reread it and you read it. I think you're going to realize that they save death for important things, and everybody follows the same soap opera comic book rules. If you don't see the body, they ain't dead.
Yep. Like one thing I do remember, not to sidetrack too much, is they go to Apocalypse later, and they lose a lot of characters there.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like, compared to Great Darkness Saga, which I just reread when I was going through my big Bronze Age read of the Legion, and there's not a single named character lost in that arc.
Yeah, because you don't kill heroes back then.
Nope.
Or you kill weird ones. I'm about to get up to the first Chemical King, and I think Chemical King only appears like 5 times before they
kill him off.
And they kill the poor bastard off. Just because he was on the cover, because they all were going to go, oh, this happened, the adult Superman. But, okay, now we're going to, but this William Tell, that he get William Hell.
I like the pun.
I did too, but that the bad guy, that's his secret identity, his last name is Heller.
Yeah, it's...
Why didn't you make it Teller or Tell? I mean, it would have just been as obvious. But, Amanda knows who he is. They all figure it out. They know what's going on. And Deadshot posing as him. And I was wondering what they were going to do with Kronos, and it was just...
using his machine or something?
To slow everything down.
Yeah. Which
would allow him to miss shooting the arrow off of somebody's head.
Mm-hmm.
They, very much a Mission Impossible plot. That with some simple thing that someone mentions but you don't see him is the big thing. So the next arc, is this 2 or 3 issues?
I think it's a 3-issue arc. The Mission to Moscow.
And it is one of my favorite ones because of the use of Penguin.
And I'm wondering in my head, and is 87, could they get away with killing Penguin? They don't. Spoilers. But I could see them kind of doing it.
I could too, but I think what they wanted to do with the Penguin is Ostrander brings up a point, and I agree with it. It's like when I don't like Danny DeVito's Penguin.
No.
Penguin's not. That's just you're doing a Joker and fat guy in a tuxedo costume. Joker's a Joker. The Penguin is a master criminal, so it's why I like this. That's why you hired him. He's a thief. He's a criminal who has a gimmick. They have a lot of criminals in DC Universe are just gimmicks to be a distraction. And then that's why I kind of liked it in like 90s and early 2000s, and in modern Batman comics, he's a crime lord.
Yep. That's how I like him.
I do too. He's an evil crime lord. But he's perfect that Cobblepot would be an expert on Fabergé eggs, and hence Russia, because he's a penguin.
And I just read him as Burgess Meredith throughout this whole arc.
I always will read him as Burgess Meredith. It's the perfect voice. What I also like is when Flag goes, when he's saying, well, I should go. I shouldn't go. I should be here thinging it. And Flag says, oh, no, you're going. And if you want to live, you're going to do what I say. Because if not, we'll leave you and you'll get killed. And he's just, so he goes, wait a minute. I got to work on the plan some more. And he's such a weasel.
Again, like, 10 younger, Suicide Squad, Secret Six. It's father and daughter.
Oh, yeah.
All of that.
What I like, too, in this one is they're going to free a dissident. And you're having the conversation between the Politburo. It's like, do we trade her? Well, let's punish her more. It's like, then she becomes a martyr. And the Gorbachev character is, like, no. Maybe we're not going to kill. Because this is a time when Russia was getting less authoritarian.
Right. This is the twilight years of the Soviet Union going on.
And I like how when they go to rescue her, she's like, "What the hell? I don't want to be rescued. I'm willing to make the sacrifice." And then when she sees Enchantress, because they take Enchantress, and her only thing is to pose as this person, and they're going to trust her. Mm-hmm. Not a good idea.
No. Nope. I do like that. Like Waller basically says flat out, like, I don't want my team to be used for this thing. Like, I would rather, it was this or I think she said it was this or Nicaragua.
Yeah, because this is a purely political thing. This isn't. She wants to take out targets.
Yep. It's like, okay, if this is a drug lord something or other, perfect. Oh, real quick. Before we head on, we see Captain Boomerang out in his apartment in New Orleans. Do I have bad fashion sense, or does that outfit look pretty spiffy?
Well, it looks kind of spiffy. It's not dated. My problem is you would see people, even George Perez, the greatest comic artist ever, but he had people dressing in 70s fashion well into the 90s. It's like, dude, did you dress like that a lot?
I don't know. I got a lot of Hawaiian shirts and stuff that I've been wearing since college, so I don't have a lot of room to talk.
Yeah, no, I do too. I have one with Annabelle on it. I have a dinosaur one. Yeah, I got a Star Wars one. My wife gives them to me. I used to, and in the 80s I wore them all the time. It's not that. It's more like the bell bottoms, the striped pants, and the big wide leather belts that he puts on people.
I'll say this. Like, there are times where I look at old Spider-Mans from the 70s. I'm like, the fashion holds up well enough compared to there are times where I've read more modern stuff, and it's like, 5 years ago, the Ugg boot look. We just dated it immediately.
Oh yeah. But no, I like that they're also creating that Belle Revere and New Orleans and the swamp are all characters in the piece, kind of like in Starman that they created it. They've taken time to show us where they live, and that he's the only one who doesn't live at the Deadshot's the only one who lives at the prison.
Yep.
And his attitude is a bed's a bed.
Yep.
And he didn't even come out of his room during during the invasion by the Furies. Yep. But he's in on this one. And the plan goes south early.
It blows up at the end of issue 1, and the next 2 are all just like, well, it hit the fan, so how do we salvage this?
Oh yeah. What I like too is they realize that Enchantress was a bad idea, and she's blown up the building, and that the dissident Firebird Nightshade and Nemesis come through the hole, and they're like, "Where's Enchantress?" And she's blowing up the building. She's flying, and Flag tells Deadshot, "That's what I want to do. Want you to do, Deadshot. Just bring her down. Understand? I want her alive." "Hey, gee, Colonel, I don't know if I can. It's a tough shot and all, and might miss and accidentally kill her, you know." And he puts a gun to Deadshot's head and goes, "Don't miss. I won't." "Okay, by me." And they shoot. They get her in the head.
Looks like the shoulder, I think.
Okay, shoulder. They don't show any blood, even black blood, which is kind of what they did. And how they all can just get her to say Enchantress and change back. But yeah, then the rest of the time they're on the run.
We see a Deadshot just take out like a Russian soldier.
Yeah, because Flag goes, "We need the Russians to head this way." And Deadshot goes, "No sweat," and he shoots the leader right between the eyes. And and Flag's like, "I didn't mean like that." Pull back.
Well, which again, I know it's gonna be a recurrent problem whenever they give Deadshot orders throughout the rest of this run. You gotta be specific with them.
Yeah. He's gonna take everything literally. And see, this is like a great action movie. Now we're going to the next action piece, as they try to get away in the truck, and of course, Deadshot finds some uber super fancy space bazooka and blows up the repeating truck, and they're all kind of traumatized. There's none of this. They have to do all these baby steps to get out because they don't have a Superman. You know what I mean? I like it.
Yep. No, it's a very low power team overall, and they gotta work with what they have. Like Nightshade might be their most powerful, but even she's got her limits.
Oh yeah, because she's really starting to feel it. All these teleports from longer and longer distances, and she has to understand where they're going to. She has to have it in her eye. Didn't she have to see it in her mind's eye or something?
It was something like that. I gotta go back and read this and Shadow Pact not too long after.
Okay, yeah, she's in that. God, that's such a good book. But she passes.
Put it on the list.
Yeah, I know. But I like how they just kind of slowly get out, and they get to the embassy, and the ambassador is like pissed, and it's like, all right. And then I'd forgotten about these when I got to the third part. The People's, what are they? People's Heroes.
I had no idea who these were, and apparently they were in The Outsiders.
Yeah, I think they were an Outsiders villain, and I think they also appeared in Firestorm, is where I knew them.
Okay, there's again. Hey, modern comics editor's notes help a lot.
Yes, they do. Well, they go continuity's not that important, but yeah, it is. Fans like it. Just don't overdo it. Mm-hmm. But I like how there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of exposition, there's a lot of character development. They're all trying to get out of here. They go to a hotel and take the place of this couple.
And I can't remember. Do they kill them all? No, I guess they don't.
No, they're just too. Yeah. They're just too. Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Deadshot goes to kill him, and Flag says no.
Throws an ashtray at him.
Yeah, and then next time it's your neck. Oh, we cut back, and Boomerang, who didn't go on the mission, is chatting up some girl trying to get her drunk. And she goes, "Oh, your phone's unhooked." And then he goes to mix a drink, and he turns around. Oops, it's Black Orchid. She's here to collect him.
So that makes at least like two villains who are like two characters who are masters of disguise on the squad, which is what you would want all the time.
Oh yeah, and I don't remember if they ever tell us who Black Orchid is, but I remember Black Orchid from appearing in a couple one-shots in the 70s.
Yeah, I have read like random stories with her on, so I couldn't tell you much.
Yeah, I don't remember if they even give up or what. They don't even give her a backstory or something in this. But I like it. They get back on the trains, and there are all the explosions. Nemesis gets captured. And then Bronze Tiger and Boomerang and Black Orchid show up to help them get out. And I like how the Enchantress gets pinned by Pravda, the mental hero. She's got the mental powers. I don't know what the big dude does except get knocked unconscious.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like these guys were so kind of cartoonish villains to me that I'm like, okay, they're just kind of here to get knocked around for a bit. And I think they even talk about like the Rocket Reds are really usurping our place here, which yeah, because I think the Rocket Reds had just been made in the Green Lantern series and were appearing in Justice League at this time. So.
Yeah, they were set up, I think, to appear in Millennium, but also to have a Rocket Red on the team.
Yeah.
Of the JLA. But I like it, man. It's they beat the bad guys, and then their Sheba, which is their helicopter, with their pilot, they come up and she's dead. She gets the free. Was it?
Oh,
Fire is it Firebird?
Yeah, I think that's
that's
her.
it. Yeah,
that's
a
her
Firebird,
yeah.
And she's been killed, and Nemesis is captured, and they take off. And then it's all back to Gorbachev, and the cartoon Spine. It's like the love child of Spy versus Spy. The head of the KGB. I think he's supposed to look like Andropov, who was right before Gorbachev. There was a former head of the CIA was in between Brezhnev and Gorbachev, and he kind of looked like that. He was kind of skinny, bald-headed guy with a beak nose.
Okay, I'm showing my age a little bit here.
No, you weren't even born. You probably weren't even born.
I didn't want to bring that up.
No. Yeah, drop. Yeah.
Like I knew
between Brezhnev and Gorbachev, they went with 2 or 3 people because they didn't have anybody who had consolidated power. And there were multiple people running it. But it's a good payoff. I mean, it's still one of my favorite. I remember why I love this one so much. It's action-packed. There's a ton going on. The characters have depth to them. And they're given something to grow. And then the next issue, the final issue in this trade, is one of the things that I loved about the series, that every so often you'd have a character piece. Yep. And this is about their doctor, their shrink, who has known Waller for years. And she's brought into this.
I think like it's not to Talking with David levels, but I remember them doing this like every couple of like 20 issues, 15, 20 issues or something.
Yeah, they did. They would do it regularly to kind of give you a reset, and then before a big arc or after a big arc, they would do a reset or a setup for, some people are going to leave. You can go, oh, well, we're having this issue, and then a big arc, who's dying in the next one? But we get to see more about, Karen, Rick's ex-girlfriend, who was a member of the previous Suicide Squad, talking about her, her nervous breakdown. And then a character I always liked, Mark Shaw, back as the privateer.
This was a first appearance for me for him.
God, yeah. He was he was in the Lynn Wein era of, or the Englehart era of Justice League.
Oh, okay.
Englehart took the Kirby Manhunter from first issue special and turned him into when he did a Manhunter story in Justice League, and then he became privateer, and you thought he was going to join the Justice League, and then he ended up really, oh no, that was just a double fake because he was really the villain, the Starzar.
Okay, say that name 3 times fast.
Starzar, yeah. I had to think about it to get it, but it was neat to see him back. And he was a villain, and that he's gone back to this. And we have Madame Xanadu in it. Bronze Tiger and June go there because of her problem with the Enchantress. And they put a necklace on her to kind of help them, help control them, and they give the ring to Bronze Tiger. That way they can turn her on and off.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. There's a panel where Bronze Tiger's looking at her, and it's like this weird look of like, is it pity? Is it some sort of not? Like, it's just a very interesting look that they give him as he's looking at June Moon passed out on the floor.
Oh yeah, I think don't they become a couple?
That's a bit where I've read every issue, but I've read them like all out of order. So
I got you. And I like how Deadshot's talking to a shrink, and then they, have an inappropriate kiss. But they both are like, uh-oh. and we find Boomerang's been disguising himself as dead Mirror Master to commit crimes.
And I'm sure he wouldn't mind Captain Boomerang bludgeoning some of his equipment. In fact, he'd appreciate the joke, and this will come to bite him in the butt later.
Oh yeah. Isn't there a new Mirror Master introduced relatively quickly?
Yeah, I think who first appeared like in Animal Man. So yeah, not too long after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like these one and dones, and I miss them in comics. I really do. I think I'm finding it. Johns is back. He writes in an old-fashioned style, especially in Lost Children.
Mm-hmm.
His JSA, I'm enjoying it, but it suffers a little bit of the modern comic to where I think I'm going to have to put them all together to read them. One of the issues is like nothing really happened except you transition to another time zone. Why?
That's kind of... we're on the same page there.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked everything, but it's kind of like... But that's not him. That's every modern comic writer.
Yeah.
That sometimes they're not thinking about pacing, and if you're going to have a transitional thing, you have to put some character development in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love all this, and I forgot how much I love Luke McDonnell. Him and Carl Kiesler are so good on this. It's one of the best comics of its time, and I think it is one of the classic DC runs. It is one of those ones if you like late 80s or post-crisis DC, I really think the quality of their work went up after Crisis. There's a lot more that I love in the first 5 or 6 years of that era than I do anything else. I like Byrne, Wolfman, Ordway, Louise Simonson, all that. I liked Superman when it became, the Diamond era, especially when it get to the Diamond numbering, and you had to read it every week, and it worked, and you were getting something different every week. And Legion doing that, and I became a huge fan. I used to never read The Flash, but I read Wally religiously up until Jeff Johns. And I didn't read it then because a lot of books had to come off my pull list for money. So that's a run I'd like to. And the Wade. I jumped in and out of the Wade. So, I mean, it's just amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, this is a great run. And the way I would pitch it to someone now is like with a little, if you'll indulge me, a little Grindhouse trailer voice. John Ostrander, Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. Where the dead are the lucky ones.
Yes, it is that. Well, that's the first volume, and I'm probably going to have you back more sooner than later so we can do another volume because it'll be an excuse to read some more of this. Because this stuff's good. Folks, I really do. I can't recommend it more highly.
Yeah, no, this is, again, there is so much groundwork for later DC, for post-crisis DC universe that's laid out in this series. Oracle will make her first appearance here.
God, yeah, I forgot. She's a huge part of this book.
Yep. And that's you could fill out, and if you were to not go trade or digital and fill it out, you'll be able to get most of the series for like $1, $3, except for that, her first appearance, and there's another Killing Joke tie-in later on.
Okay.
Those were the 2 issues that were keeping me from filling the run out sooner.
Oh my goodness! But see, you know what? I'm surprised they didn't go crazy when the first movie came out or the other comics came out. But people go back and go, I don't want to read Bronze Age comics, and I'm like, is this technically Bronze Age?
I would call this like more modern age.
Yeah, this is
because like
yeah.
I don't know, but there's a reason they have keep trying to making Suicide Squad fetch, and it's because of how great Ostrander's run throughout this is.
Yeah.
To varying degrees of success.
Yeah, I would like to read some of the other stuff. Some of it looks intriguing. Some of the lineups look intriguing. But I'm not a fan of a lot of I don't know the writers on some of it. And there's some modern writers that I just aren't, like, I tried to give Scott Snyder's Justice League a chance. I didn't hate it, but none of them since Rebirth has stuck with me.
Yeah,
I mean, none of it has really stuck with me. Some single short arcs are okay. Some of the big arcs, they haven't landed. I'm looking forward to see what they do when they bring it back in this Dawn of DC.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed a lot of the Dawn of the DC stuff so far.
Yeah.
Like to Shazam, I mean, it's Wade.
Yep. Oh. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe they'll do something with this, these characters, or this concept, and bring someone in who can do it.
My only advice for them was like, don't have a character who you're never gonna kill off, like Harley Quinn in one of the main roles. And it's like, I know she's and she sells, but there's also no tension there.
Yeah, but her and Deadshot were kind of the anchor, weren't they? For them, a lot of it, yeah, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think they have not changed Deadshot a lot in the comics, so he's still the same guy, and he's a great character. And I think they kind of capture, like in the movie, I do want to say in the first film, I think is a love letter to Ostrander. I don't think it's 100%, they don't knock it out of the park, but it's entertaining. I sit for 2 hours with it, and it doesn't bug me. And I thought the second one was hysterical. And, it was a silly. All right. So, hey, before we go, is there anything you want to recommend that you're reading or listening to or whatever?
Let's see here. Reading, I just picked up the first Fantastic Four by John Byrne, the first Omni of that, so I'll be reading that kind of along with my Suicide Squad, so that's been a lot of fun.
Oh, how do you like those early issues, pre him writing them?
I'm only on like the first like 3, and I think the first one of those is like a Marvel 2-in-1, which I like. So
yeah, it's a nice mix. I'm glad that they put all of his stuff in the 2 volumes, even though it's not his primary run, which is one of the best FF runs ever. So, all right, that's a good one. I finished volume 1 of, and I talked about it on last week's episode how those first 30 issues of FF were different.
Yeah, that surprised me.
I was surprised by my take on it. It's just I'd never read it. I'd read the big books, but not all of them. But I'm reading Thunderbolts Volume 1. I've got some other stuff coming in the mail that I'm looking forward to. And I've been reading a lot of the IDW Star Trek, and I really recommend it. I really think since the last 6 months, 8 months have been really, really good. They're really, really good Star Trek stories.
Yep. I have... That's good to hear, because I want to check them out. But I'm always hesitant, because sometimes you can get some great stuff and some not so great stuff.
That's been across the board very good. Well,
that's good.
Well, folks, that's it for this week. As always, thank you, Kirby. We'll have you back on soon, if not for Suicide Squad, for something else. If there's something you want to talk about, let me know, and we can do it. When you finish that first volume of FF, I do want to talk to you about that and have you come on for that. But as always, folks, be smart, be safe, please be kind to one another, because there's some rank assholes out in the world nowadays. So we need to be nicer. And, read some comics.